Either you leave now, or we both leave together when I set fire to this lying hell, I said, holding up the lighter closer to Derek's prized photographs. He stared at me as sweat trickled down his forehead. You wouldn't dare. The room felt like it would explode. Derek sat on the edge of the couch, his usually neat hair disheveled. His eyes darted from me to the flame and back. There was an urgent, almost desperate edge to his voice. Laura, this is ridiculous. Put that down. My hand trembled, but I kept the lighter steady. Ridiculous? You think this is ridiculous? What's ridiculous is you spending our money on someone else while claiming we're broke. He blinked rapidly, searching for the words. What are you talking about? Where's this coming from? The box, Derek? The one you thought you hid so well in the closet. Receipts for gifts, dinners, everything. All for someone named Emily. For a moment, Derek was silent. His face changed, hardening in a way that poured ice into my veins. Laura, you don't understand. There are things, it's not what you think. Using my free hand, I pulled out the receipts, throwing them at him. They fluttered down like a damning rain. Tell me, Derek, what do I not understand? Because from where I'm standing, it looks pretty clear. Derek sighed, standing and walking towards the door. For a moment, I thought he was going to leave. Look, let's talk about this rationally. No need for threats or violence. Rational? You want rational? I laughed, a harsh sound in the tense room. You've been lying to me for God knows how long, and now you want to talk? He held up his hands as if trying to calm a wild animal. Listen, we can figure this out. Put down the lighter and we can... I cut him off. Or we can what? Pretend everything's fine? Keep lying to each other. I felt my resolve waver and took a deep breath, steadying myself. No, Derek, I'm done pretending. His cool demeanor cracked for a second, showing just a hint of fear. Fine, you're right, I messed up, but can we please talk about this? I lowered the lighter slightly but kept my eyes locked onto his. Talk? Yeah, we'll talk, but not here, not now. Derek took a step forward, cautiously. What do you want, Laura? This is getting out of hand. I turned and grabbed my bag, stuffing it with whatever important documents I had tucked away. I want out. For good. And you're going to let me go without a fight. He moved closer, standing just a few feet away. And if I don't, I met his gaze, unblinking, then you'll wish you never met me. There was a silence, thick with unspoken threats and broken promises. Derek exhaled and looked away, defeated. Fine. Just put the lighter down. We'll talk. I didn't trust the softness in his voice, but I nodded and put the lighter in my pocket. Okay, but remember, Derek, I've got proof. Proof of everything. Don't test me. His shoulders slumped, and for a moment I saw the man I once loved buried under layers of deceit and betrayal. I wouldn't dare. Without another word, I walked out of the room, leaving behind the shattered pieces of a life I once thought was perfect. As I stepped into the cool night air, I felt the weight of freeing myself and the immense challenge ahead, but one thing was certain. I wasn't going to back down. Not now. Not ever. As I left the house, the cold air hit me, snapping me into reality. I got into my car and drove aimlessly for a bit, my mind swirling with thoughts of betrayal and anger. I remembered how things used to be, how Derek used to make me laugh, how we used to plan our future together. It felt like a different lifetime. It was late when I pulled up to Sophia's house. I almost didn't want to disrupt her family, but I had no other place to go. I knocked softly, and moments later, Sophia opened the door, her eyes widening in surprise. "Laura, what are you doing here?" she asked, concern etched on her face. "I need to talk. Can I come in?" I replied, my voice barely above a whisper. She stepped aside, letting me in. We sat on her couch with the soft hum of the baby monitor in the background. I told her everything, from the hidden receipts to confronting Derek. Her face grew angrier with each detail. "That jerk! I can't believe he did this to you. How long has this been going on?" Sophia's eyes were blazing with protectiveness. "A year, maybe more," I said, feeling the weight of the betrayal more heavily now. "And I think it's been going on since a year into our marriage." Sophia clenched her fists. "You need to get evidence, solid proof. Have you checked his phone, emails, anything?" I sighed. "I found a hidden phone in his office earlier. It's filled with messages to Emily. That's how I know her name." She reached for her phone. "You need to gather all the evidence you can. Make sure he can't deny it. Then we'll figure out your next steps." I nodded. Sophia's determination was infectious. "Thanks. I don't know what I'd do without you." You're stronger than you think, Laura. We'll get through this together. The next day, I pretended nothing had happened. Derek avoided me, his gaze cold and distant. That night, with Derek snoring in the next room, I snuck into his office. I found the hidden phone and quietly scrolled through the messages. They were worse than I'd imagined: romantic getaways, expensive dinners, even plans for a future together. My blood boiled. One message caught my eye. Can't wait to see you tomorrow at the usual place. XO Emily. I decided to follow him. The next day, I watched him drive to a fancy restaurant, meeting a younger woman, Emily. I took countless pictures through the window, each click of the camera deepening my resolve. Later, I sat in my car, the weight of my findings settling over me. I couldn't confront him now. Not yet. There was still more to uncover. Days passed, and Derek continued his deceitful routine, blissfully unaware of my silent pursuit. I documented everything, gathering enough evidence to topple his world. One night, as Derek went out again, I sat across from Sophia with all my gathered evidence spread out before us. "This is it," I said, my voice firm. "I've got enough proof now." Sophia looked at me, admiration in her eyes. "So what's your plan?" I took a deep breath, feeling the cold sting of determination. "First, I need a lawyer. Someone who can guide me through this mess without Derek suspecting. I won't go down without a fight." Sophia nodded. "I know someone, David. He's tough and discreet. He'll help you." I leaned back, exhaustion mingling with relief. "Thanks, I'm ready to fight back now." As I left her house that night, I promised myself I wouldn't let Derek's betrayal define me. This was just the beginning of my journey to reclaim my life. No more living in the shadows of lies. It was time to take control. David was the perfect choice. When Sophia introduced us, he got straight to the point. "So tell me everything, Laura. Leave no detail out," he said, sitting across from me in his cramped office. We spent hours going through every piece of evidence I had gathered. He nodded approvingly as I laid out the photos, messages, and receipts. "Good job documenting everything. This will be crucial," David said, shuffling the papers. "But we need more than just proof of his affair. We need to expose his financial abuses, too." I took a deep breath. "I've been looking into our finances. Derek has been hiding debt, spending money recklessly while keeping me in the dark. I've been the main financial supporter without even realizing it." David frowned. "And you've sacrificed your own career goals for his, right?" I nodded, memories of missed opportunities and neglected dreams flashing through my mind. "Yes." I put everything on hold for him, believing his promises. David looked grim. "We need bank statements and any financial records you can find. He can't deny hard evidence." That night, while Derek was asleep, I tiptoed to his office. I rummaged through his desk drawers, finally finding a locked box. Using the key I had swiped earlier, I opened it to find stacks of bills, credit statements, and loan forms. My heart sank as I realized just how deep Derek's financial mess went. The next day, I handed everything over to David. He sorted through the documents, shaking his head. "This is going to demolish him, exactly what we need." At home, Derek became more distant and dismissive. One evening, I ventured to talk about our financial situation. "Derek, we need to talk about our money issues. Things don't add up," I said calmly. He glared at me, annoyed. "I handle the finances, Laura. Just focus on your work, all right?" I stared at him, anger bubbling just below the surface. "I think I have a right to know, considering my income basically funds everything." His eyes flashed with irritation. "God, Laura, must you always question everything? Leave it alone." I clenched my fists under the table. "If you'd been honest, I wouldn't have to." The argument ended with Derek storming out, leaving me feeling both angry and justified. This only strengthened my resolve to bring everything to light. A week later, David found me taking a break from work. "You've done well, Laura. We're ready to confront him. My suggestion, tomorrow." I felt a surge of determination. "Fine, let's do it." Later that night, I went through everything one last time. I visualized the moment I would lay it all out in front of him, each lie crumbling like a house of cards. The next evening, Derek walked in, his tie loose, looking exhausted. He barely acknowledged me as he sat down. I stood up, holding the stack of evidence. "We need to talk." "Now," I said firmly. He looked up, bored. "What is it now? Another one of your baseless accusations." I slammed the stack onto the table. "No, Derek. These are facts." Derek's face turned pale as he glanced at the documents. "What is this?" Proof of everything. Your affair, your lies, your financial mess. It's all here. He snatched the papers, flipping through them. His face contorted with anger. You've been spying on me? Yes, I said calmly, and now everyone will know the kind of person you really are. His eyes burned with fury. You think you can ruin me? I won't go down without a fight, Laura. I met his glare, unflinching. Neither will I. As I walked away, I felt an immense sense of relief. This was just the beginning, but I was ready for the battle ahead. Derek's control over me was over, and my plan was in motion. It was time to reclaim my life. I could barely sleep. The showdown with Derek left me restless and tense. David assured me our next step was crystal clear. We've got him cornered, Laura. Now's the time to confront him with everything we've got. The next morning, I prepared myself. I was ready for the final talk. When Derek came home that evening, the tension between us was electric. He knew something was off. Laura, what's with the cold shoulder? We need to clear the air, he said, trying to sound reasonable. But I saw through him. We do, I replied, holding up the investigator's report David had handed me. And I've got all the proof I need. He narrowed his eyes, suspicion creeping into his gaze. What are you talking about? I hired a private investigator. I have photos of you with Emily spending our money like it's water, and there's more, details on your financial irresponsibility, I said, keeping my voice even though my heart was pounding. Derek's face twisted with anger and disbelief. You had no right to do that. I had every right, I shot back. You've been lying and cheating for years. This is your mess, Derek, not mine. He lunged forward, grabbing the report from my hands and slamming it on the table. You think this will destroy me? Think again, Laura. I stood my ground. This is your doing. You broke us. I'm just making sure you can't deny it. His eyes turned cold. You want to leave? Fine, but you won't get a penny from me. I laughed, a hollow sound in the stifling room. You really think you can bully me into staying? I've already taken steps to secure what's mine. He sneered. You think you're so clever, but you're just playing a dangerous game. Maybe, I said, grabbing my bag, but I'm done being afraid of you. I turned to leave, but Derek grabbed my arm. This isn't over, Laura. You can't just walk away from everything. I pulled free and faced him. Watch me, I replied, venom in every word. I walked out, slamming the door behind me. Outside, the cool air felt like freedom. I drove to David's office, where we finalized the plan. I outlined every detail with a steady hand, making sure each move was calculated to perfection. We're in this together, Laura, David said, his tone reassuring. You're doing the right thing. The next day, I started extracting my money from our joint accounts. I set up separate accounts in my name, ensuring Derek couldn't touch a dime. Over the next few days, I discreetly moved the majority of our savings. Derek started to sense something was up. He became more demanding, checking our accounts, questioning me constantly. But I stayed calm, playing along. The money's safe, Derek. You need to trust me, I would say, my face betraying nothing. Finally, the day came when the balance tipped in my favor. With the help of David and Sophia, I had everything I needed. I was financially independent, and Derek had no idea how close he was to losing everything. I called a meeting with Derek, Sophia, and David present. Derek strutted in, confidence masking his unease. What's this about? I laid out the accounts, the statements, every transaction he thought he'd hidden. This is about your lies catching up to you. He glanced at David, then back at me. You can't do this. Watch me, I said calmly. David stepped forward. Legally, Laura's in the clear. You've been dishonest, Derek. Now you face the consequences. Derek's face fell, fury and fear battling for control. You'll regret this, he spat, but there was no power behind his words. No, Derek, I replied, standing tall. You're the one who'll regret it. As I left with Sophia and David by my side, I felt the weight lifting. This was far from over, but I was ready. Derek's control was shattered, and I was finally free to reclaim my life. The first steps had been taken, and I wouldn't stop until I saw this through to the end. I moved into Sophia and John's guest room the next day. They insisted I stay as long as I needed. Derek's threats from the previous night echoed in my mind, but I refused to let them shake me. Sophia was a rock of support. One morning over coffee, she said, Laura, you're doing amazing, but you need allies. People who can support you both emotionally and practically. I know, I replied, sipping my coffee. But who do I turn to? Derek made sure to isolate me. Sophia leaned in. We'll start with family and close friends who can offer real help. People you trust. That night, we called my older brother Mike and explained everything. He met us at a local diner, his face a mask of concern and anger. Laura, I had no idea it was this bad, Mike said, gripping my hand tightly. You should have told me sooner. I didn't want to worry you, I said, tears in my eyes. But I need your support now more than ever. Mike's expression hardened. You have it. Anything you need, just ask. Next, I reached out to a few trusted friends. Over the following days, Sophia, John, Mike, and I formed a small but solid support network. They helped me with everything from logistics to emotional encouragement. Meanwhile, David and I were busy making final preparations to secure my independent financial stability. I transferred more funds into my private account, ensuring I had enough to start fresh once I left for good. One evening, Sophia came into the guest room with a smile. John and I have been talking. You should come stay with us until you get back on your feet. We have plenty of room. I shook my head, touched by their generosity. I don't want to impose. Nonsense, John said, appearing in the doorway. We're family, and you need a stable place to stay. I hugged them both, feeling grateful. I'll stay, but I don't want to be a burden. You're never a burden, Sophia said firmly. We'll get through this together. David called later that week with good news. Laura, we've made significant progress. Financially, you're secure. Now it's time to ensure Derek feels the consequences of his actions. What do you mean? I asked, curious. We need to expose him in a way that leaves no room for him to deny or twist the truth. Make sure everyone knows who he really is. A plan started to form in my mind. A way to reveal Derek's betrayal to our entire social circle. An anniversary party, I said slowly. A surprise anniversary party where I can show everyone the truth. David chuckled. That's bold, but it could work. Let's do it. We set the date and made meticulous plans. Invitations went out secretly, and on the night of the party, Sophia and John helped me set everything up at their place. The house was filled with friends, family, and Derek's colleagues. Derek arrived, surprised and pleased by the unexpected celebration. He glanced around, probably thinking he had managed to win me back without even trying. He gave his usual charming smile, oblivious to the storm about to hit. As the night went on, I excused myself to prepare the final pièce de résistance to the visitor. With everyone gathered in the living room, I stood up, holding a glass of wine. Thank you all for coming to celebrate, I began, my voice steady. Derek and I owe you an honest look at our relationship. Derek looked confused, but he didn't suspect anything yet. I clicked a remote, and the slideshow began. Images and messages flashed across the screen, detailing his affair and financial deception. Gasps filled the room. Derek's face turned ashen as he tried to stand, but John blocked his way. Stay, John said quietly but firmly. As the final image lingered on the screen, a message from Derek to Emily about their future together, Derek's colleagues and our friends turned to him, their expressions filled with shock and disgust. Derek, I said, breaking the heavy silence, this is the truth. This is who you are. Derek's mask finally fell. He looked around, realizing the depth of his unraveling. Laura, you can't do this. But I held my ground, surrounded by my newfound allies. Oh, but I did. The room buzzed with whispers, and I saw Derek's reputation crumble before my eyes. This was just the beginning of his downfall, and I was ready for whatever came next. The aftermath of the anniversary party left a chasm that Derek couldn't ignore. Back at home, his fury exploded. How could you do this to me? He screamed, his face red with rage. You've ruined everything. I stood my ground, nerves steely. I showed everyone the truth, Derek. You ruined everything yourself. You think you're so clever, don't you? He sneered. You've got nothing without me. You're wrong. I have everything I need now. I leaned in, my voice low and cold. And you? You have nothing left but shame. He lunged, and for a second I thought he'd hit me. But he stopped short, his hands clenching and unclenching. This isn't over, Laura. You'll pay for this. We'll see, I said, stepping away. I'm leaving, and there's nothing you can do to stop me. The next day, I moved the rest of my belongings to Sophia and John's place. Derek tried calling, texting, even showing up at their door, but John was always there to send him packing. David delivered more good news soon after. Derek's reputation is in shambles. He's losing clients fast. Word spreads quickly. I nodded, feeling a grim satisfaction. Good. With Derek destabilized, I contacted Emily. She needed to know the kind of man she was involved with. We arranged to meet at a cafe downtown. Emily was younger than I expected, with wide eyes that betrayed her nerves. "Why are we meeting?" she asked tentatively. I took a deep breath. "You need to hear this. Derek isn't who he says he is. He's been cheating on me a long time, lying to both of us." She looked stunned. "What?" "No, Derek said he and his wife were having problems." "Yeah, because he caused them," I said, handing her a file David had helped me prepare. "Read this. It's all the evidence of his deceit." She flipped through the file, her expression shifting from shock to disgust. "I didn't know. I swear I didn't know." "I believe you," I replied softly, "but you deserve to know the truth and to decide what to do with it." Emily looked up, tears in her eyes. "Thank you for telling me. I need to cut ties with him." "Be careful," I warned. "Derek's not just a cheater. He's dangerous when cornered." Emily nodded. "I'll end it. Thanks for opening my eyes." Days later, as I began rebuilding my life, word came that Emily had left Derek. Derek's spiral deepened. No girlfriend, no reputation, no support. David's updates confirmed Derek's decline, each piece of news like a weight lifting off my shoulders. One afternoon, I met with David and Sophia. "What's next?" I asked. David smiled. "You've done more than enough damage. Now, it's about securing your future." Sophia leaned in, her gaze intent. "You need to move out of the shadow of this mess. Start fresh." I nodded, determination burning in my chest. "I'm ready." The next day, I began packing my things, preparing to move into a small, cozy apartment I had secured. It was a new start, a space that was mine alone. Derek tried reaching out once more, showing up at the apartment just as I was unpacking. "Laura, please, let's talk," he pleaded, looking broken. I met his eyes with a hard stare. "There's nothing left to say. Leave before I call the police." He stood there, desperation in his eyes. "I'll fix this, I promise." "You had your chance, Derek. It's too late." He left, shoulders slumped, the full impact of his downfall finally sinking in. Watching him walk away, I felt a strange mixture of sadness and triumph. As I settled into my new place, I focused on my future. I reconnected with my passions, old friends, and embraced the solitude. Life was different, and it was mine to shape. One evening, as the sun set behind the cityscape, I looked around my new home, feeling a profound sense of peace. No more lies, no more fear, just freedom and the promise of new beginnings. Walking down the street, I felt lighter, more confident. Derek's shadow no longer darkened my path. This was my journey, and it had only just begun. Derek's life was unraveling fast. Without my financial support, his house of cards collapsed. Rumors of his infidelity and financial deceit spread like wildfire, reaching his clients and colleagues. One day, I ran into an old acquaintance, Sarah, at a cafe. Her face lit up when she saw me. "Laura, it's been ages." We chatted briefly before she leaned in, her expression turning serious. "I heard about Derek. Is it true?" "Every word," I said, not holding back. "He lied, cheated, and drained our finances. I had to expose him." Sarah shook her head, sympathy in her eyes. "What a mess. I'm so sorry, Laura." "It needed to happen," I replied. "I'm rebuilding now, focusing on myself." She smiled. "Good for you. If you need anything, don't hesitate to ask." It wasn't long before Derek hit rock bottom. One evening, David called with an update. "Derek's been let go from his job. His colleagues lost all respect for him." "He deserves it," I said, feeling a grim satisfaction. "What's next for him?" David sighed. "He'll likely try to find new work, but with his reputation, it won't be easy." I nodded, thinking about how far I'd come. "Thanks, David. I appreciate everything you've done." As days turned into weeks, Derek's desperation grew. One afternoon, I received a call from an unknown number. Hesitantly, I answered. "Laura, it's Derek," his voice cracked, full of vulnerability. "I need your help." "No, you don't," I replied, keeping my voice steady. "You need to face the consequences of your actions." "Please," he begged. "I've lost everything. I can't do this alone." "You did this to yourself, Derek," I said firmly. "Goodbye." With a click, I ended the call. I felt a mixture of pity and relief. Derek had to learn the hard way that actions have consequences. Emily reached out to me as well, saying she had cut all ties with Derek. "I'm so sorry for being part of this," she said softly. "I didn't know." "It's not your fault," I reassured her. "Derek was the manipulator. You deserve better." She thanked me, and we parted ways, both of us seeking new beginnings. As for me, I threw myself into my work and hobbies. I reconnected with old friends, spending weekends exploring the city and enjoying simple pleasures. Life felt lighter, freer. One evening, I hosted a small dinner party at my new apartment. Sophia, John, Mike, and even David came. The air was filled with laughter and warmth, a stark contrast to the tension and deceit I had lived with. Sophia raised her glass. To Laura for her strength and courage. May this be the beginning of a beautiful journey. We all clinked our glasses, and I felt a surge of gratitude. These people, my true family, had stood by me through the toughest times. As the party wound down, David pulled me aside. "You've done something incredible, Laura. You've taken back your life." "I couldn't have done it without all of you," I said, glancing around the room at my loved ones. "Thank you." He smiled. "Here's to moving forward, then." In the days that followed, I saw Derek once more. He was a shadow of his former self. Sitting alone in a cafe, staring blankly at a cup of coffee. Part of me wanted to offer solace, but I knew it wasn't my place. Instead, I walked past, my head held high. This was my story now, free from his toxic influence. With renewed strength and an open heart, I embraced my independence. Each step I took was a reminder of my journey, from betrayal to empowerment. Life was mine to shape, and I was determined to make every moment count. I had faced darkness and emerged stronger, ready to build a future filled with light and possibility. As I continued on my path, I knew one thing for sure. I was unstoppable. Moving into my new, cozy apartment felt like stepping into a fresh chapter of my life. I decorated it with pieces that reflected my taste, each detail carefully selected. A sense of peace settled in, a stark contrast to the chaos that had dominated my world. One morning, while brewing coffee, my phone buzzed. It was a text from an old friend, Rachel. "Hey, Laura, just heard about everything. Can we catch up? Lunch?" I smiled, glad for the reconnection. "Sounds great. Let's meet at the bistro by the park." At lunch, Rachel listened intently as I recounted the betrayal and the fallout. Her eyes widened in disbelief. "Wow, Laura, that's intense. How did you manage?" "With a lot of help. My friends and family were my support system," I replied, warmth flooding my chest as I thought of them. "And now, I'm just focusing on living the life I want." Rachel grinned. "Good for you. You always had a fire in you." Reconnecting with old friends became a regular part of my routine. Each meeting brought laughter, memories, and a sense of healing. I was rebuilding, piece by piece. One day I received a call from an unfamiliar number. "Hello? Laura, it's Emily." "Emily, is everything all right?" I asked, surprised. She took a deep breath. "I just wanted to say thank you, Senior, for showing me the truth about Derek. It was hard, but I've moved on, started a new job, meeting new people." "That's wonderful to hear, Emily. You deserve happiness." "You too, Laura. Take care," she said before hanging up. Hearing Emily's progress felt like another weight lifted. The threads of Derek's deceit were finally unwinding, freeing us both. My freelance web development business began to flourish. I took on projects that excited me, each one a step toward professional fulfillment. The freedom to choose made all the difference. One afternoon, as I was finalizing a project, there was a knock on the door. It was David, holding a bottle of wine. "Thought we'd celebrate your newfound independence," he said with a smile. We sat on the balcony, the city skyline glowing as the sun set. "So, Laura, how does it feel to be here after everything?" I sipped my wine, feeling the cool breeze. "It feels freeing. I didn't realize how much weight I was carrying until it was gone." David nodded. "You've come a long way. What's next for you?" "I'm focusing on me now, my work, my passions, maybe even travel once things settle." He raised his glass. "Here's to new beginnings." "To new beginnings," I echoed, clinking my glass with his. As the months passed, I explored old interests and discovered new ones. I took up painting, joined a book club, and even tried my hand at cooking exotic recipes. Life was full, vibrant. One evening, while shopping for groceries, I bumped into an old colleague, Marcus. We chatted briefly, catching up on life. He mentioned a new tech startup looking for experienced developers. "You'd be perfect for it, Laura. Interested?" I smiled, feeling a spark of excitement. "Send me the details. I'd love to know more." Opportunities seemed to unfold naturally, reflecting my new mindset. I was no longer bound by fear or betrayal. I was free to chase my passions and dreams. Sophia and John remained close, often hosting dinner parties that filled my weekends with joy and laughter. One evening, as we sat around their dining table, Sophia leaned over and whispered, "I'm proud of you, Laura. You've rebuilt yourself from the ground up." "Thank you," I replied, feeling a swell of gratitude. "I couldn't have done it without you all." Walking home that night, I felt a deep sense of contentment. The streets were quiet, the city lights casting a warm glow. I had taken back my life, turned pain into strength, and embraced a future full of possibilities. As I stepped into my apartment, I looked around, smiling. This was my sanctuary, a symbol of my resilience. My journey had been tumultuous, but it led me here, to a place of peace and empowerment. This was my life now, authentic, self-defined, and filled with hope. I walked confidently into the future, knowing I was unstoppable.